Call to order the regular board meeting of September 5th, 2017, 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Echevetti.
Here.
Treasurer LaFata. Here. Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph. Here. Trustee Vosberg. Here. Trustee Demink.
Here.
Clerk Berry is here.
All members are present. There are no presentations tonight. Department reports, if any.
Good evening, Board. I just want to update you guys on the Phragmites situation over at the Salt River. Back in November of 2015, the Township Board approved $20,000 to be used for the Michigan Invasive Species Grant Program to work on spraying and knocking down the Phragmites on the Salt River between Jefferson and Callens Road. The match was $14,000 for a total project of $34,000. We went out for bid in August, September of 2016. We got a bid, but then it was too late in the season, weren't able to do the work. So we pushed it to this year, and Mike Sobieski, the representative for our CISMA, which is the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, they work with Macomb and St. Clair County, and he got an extension for this grant for 2017 and 2018. So now, this past week, we awarded Tri-County Aquatics for a 2-year agreement to spray and knock down the Phragmites on the Salt River. They're going to, the brief synopsis is they're going to spray twice in September, October of this year. Over the winter, they're going to knock down the Phragmites, and then next year, September, October, they're going to spray it twice again to make sure they get everything killed. The total cost of this project is going to be roughly around $29,000. And we're meeting with him this week to go over the details. So when I get more details on how they're going to spray, when they're going to spray, what's going on, I am going to notify the residents in that area with a letter mailed to their houses, as well as have it on the website for everyone information, and then I'll have our number from the call if they have any questions. So I wanted to update you on that in case you guys had any questions about that. Just want to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Item 6 is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments on the consent agenda are permitted. The consent agenda tonight includes the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 21st, 2017, approval of the agenda, and approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Berry, support by Trustee Anderson. Discussion. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Echevetti.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 7A, approve a request by the Planning Department to terminate an intergovernmental agreement between Chesterfield Township and Macomb Township. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Echevetti, support by Trustee Vosberg.
I got one question.
Discussion.
I guess this would either go to JR or Kevin. This is that property right there that goes between Grash and Herb Drive, correct? You guys familiar with that? Is that going to affect that cross connection between the water departments that was put in years ago? With this, anything with that?
It is connected. I don't think it'll affect anything because it's out in the right of way.
Okay. That's all I want to know because I saw this. I remember years back they did that cross connection in case the water ever stopped. They could backfeed something. I just want to make sure that that's still there in case Macomb needs it or we need it.
It's still there, ready to be operational, and it is in the right of way, so it shouldn't affect it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Motion by Supervisor Echevetti, support by Trustee Vosberg. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Echevetti.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Motion passes. 7B, approve a request by the Clerks Department for MCImetro Access Transmission Service Corporation, doing business as Verizon Access Transmission Services, for a Metro Act permit request for a bilateral permit for its proposed use of the public right-of-way to install fiber optic facilities. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item as presented.
Motion by Clerk Barry,
Support.
support by Trustee Joseph. Discussion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Echeverry.
Aye. Motion passes. 7C, approve a request by the Department of Public Works from Larry and Shona Noling, granting a 5-year sanitary sewer debt service agreement and a tax lien in the amount of $7,425 plus interest at 51700 Sass Road, parcel number 0915400-050. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Echeverry, support by Clerk Barry. Discussion? Motion by Supervisor Echeverry, support by Clerk Barry. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Echeverry.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye. Motion passes. 7D, approve a request by the Department of Public Works to purchase 16,000 R900 Radio Read Devices from Ferguson Waterworks for a total cost of $1,360,000 over a 24-month period, paying in monthly monthly installments. I'll make a motion to approve the request as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Echeverry, support by Trustee Vosberg, and Director Coddington is here. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Board. The reason we're asking to go to install the rest of these within a 2-year period is our software that is on the existing readers is not going to be able, after the beginning of 2020, there's no guarantees that they can keep that secure, so we're highly concerned. We're on 2 systems now. The old part, we'll call it Raymar, is some of the old readers. The new ones are the Neptunes. We want to get totally on the Neptune, which they can secure, and the IT part of it will be fine, but they can only guarantee us that we can be safe on the other one up until 2020, so that's why we have expedited this process mostly, to try and get these all done by the spring of 2020. And by doing so, we are saving a substantial amount of money, or $64,000, by guaranteeing that we're going to go buy this many within a 2-year period. So it makes sense both ways to do this, and we will be handling this all in-house with our own employees to get this switch out done in a prompt manner. Any other questions I can entertain?
Don, how's that going to hit the budgets for the next, for 17, 18, and 19?
Well, we are gonna. It's kind of coming out of the capital money out of the budget, but we have to plan for this. This is a necessary evil.
Any further board comments?
Payments are going to be over 24 months. Is that correct, Mr. LaFata?
Yeah, this is not a one-time payment of 1.3. This will be approximately $57,000 a month until we get caught up. So whatever that comes out to, it's 600 and some thousand a year that we will get it into the budget.
You have a schedule laid out of how many replacements per month. I think it's approximately 667 meter swap outs per month.
That's correct.
Starting this October and lasting all the way till September of 2019. the way I understand it is committing to purchase all of these in that 2-year period is where we realize the savings. You have been here multiple times switching out these radio read devices
Right.
this year and probably in previous years.
Last year and going into this year. Been back pretty much almost at not every, but at least every other board meeting purchasing these because the old ones are failing and they're past their useful life.
Are we swapping them out now to the tune of about 667 a month, or would that be a little
Not
more
quite that
aggressive?
heavy. It would be probably more of to 200 to 300 a month right now. So we'll be speeding that process up. And we weren't replacing all of them before, but we will be now. So we're going to start in the oldest area in the township and just start replacing them out street by street. We were replacing them as they were failing, but now we're going to do a whole change-out program. And they are all past their useful life.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board?
I just have,
Trustee Joseph.
the approval, like piece by piece, is we were replacing them as they failed. Tonight you're saying they're all past their lifespan.
Well, they are. We're on borrowed time on most of them, yes.
So independent of the software difficulties and the communication problems in 2020, these are past due. These are, why not in the budget now? Why wait? Why get into 2020 when you're on borrowed time?
Well, only because we brought this problem we have up with the manufacturer, and they were able to offer us a discount if we could commit to it within a 24-month period.
I understand. I'm just pointing out that the letter and the documentation talks about this being an expedited, problem because of the ability to capture the data past 2020.
Right.
That our software with our existing equipment is not compatible, and that the best we could get would be 2020. After that, we don't know, right? So the data may be lost, and your request is that we expedite this. My question is, these are already failed. These are basically obsolete independent, and they're dying at a rate because, as you say, we're on borrowed time. Why not just put that in the budget, 17, 16? I mean, we know the life expectancy of these things. What's the software part of it now? Is that just like the proverbial straw?
No, we did budget, and we were planning on budgeting it for more next year. Personally, I did not know exactly when these things were going to start going like they have this year. We do know now that they are failing way faster than they were. We have a way better record system now, so we know we can keep on top of that going forward, but I simply did not know with the way we were doing it, how fast they were going to fail.
Thank you.
Any further board comments?
Don, are we replacing R900s with R900s just compatible with a different software package?
No, we are not replacing R900s. The R900s are there with 20-year batteries. We are not replacing any R900s. These are all Raymars and a couple of other different brands that we had in the past.
Trustee Bosberg.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the purchase request form. And on here, it says there's a budget adjustment requested, and it says no, we'll do it with an amendment. Well, to me, that's the same thing. We don't have to solve that issue here now, but I would like to
Yeah.
talk with Vicki about solving
Yeah,
that.
Vicki made that comment.
Right, I see that those were Vicki's notes, so, and then the other thing is regarding this type of a purchase, it says it does not require IT, technical support related to the hardware or software. Why would that be? You're changing out the software.
Well, we don't have to buy any existing software. The software that we do have now for the existing R900s will work with everything we have going forward. It's the older software that supports the Raymar and there's another brand of readers that we used back then that is going to be out of date that runs on Windows 7, and after 2020, nobody's going to be able to guarantee that anything's going to work on Windows 7. And there's no updatable software. We certainly don't want to purchase it when we're trying to eliminate them.
Okay, so the software changed, I heard you talking about going to another program. That's an existing program, you're just moving the rest of them over to the existing program?
Yes, on the R900, on the Raymar side, and any updates or anything like that is perfectly fine with the R900 software that we do have moving forward.
Do you know, does our IT consultant deal with that, if you have issues with the?
Yeah, we did discuss it with our IT people, and they're on the same consensus of the 2020 date is going to be crucial to not being able to support that older software anymore.
Okay, so you did talk to them about this?
We did.
Okay, so to me, that's just another thing about this form. You did, as a courtesy, talk to them to make sure this would work. So to me, that form needs to be worked on a little bit.
Yeah, some of them questions on there kind of confuse me too, sometimes, exactly what you're asking. I'm not sure how to fill that out accurately, just like you're asking.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk Barry.
Thank you. So if these have a 10-year useful life, I'm just concerned about obsolescence and being able to be compatible with future software upgrades. Should we then anticipate that approximately every 10 years it's going to be about a $1.3 to $1.5 million capital investment we should build into a long-term capital investment plan?
We should. Although I will tell you, these new ones are 20-year batteries, not 10.
Okay.
So they're twice as long as the previous ones.
And there won't be, I'm just concerned because software is going to evolve as well as hardware, but particularly software changes even more frequently. They have a 20-year battery, but that's fine on the battery end, but as far as the software compatibility, did the IT department have anything to say about compatibility over the next 20 years, or are they made to be flexible or upgradable?
Got any more?
Yeah, there's the new software's on an app, an Ngo app on our tablets that's upgradable just like any other app. Okay. So it'll have no problem handling upgrades for the next, 5-10 years. But just like anything, it may, as time progresses, it may need to evolve. But as of right now, it's meant to adapt with any updated tablet or computer.
Oh, great, thank you.
Trustee Joseph.
Mr. Coddington, so we have 15,000 devices approximately left to install, 15,282. In the letter that you send to the board, we talk about a unit price of $85 if we do it now. So you have a savings over the purchase price of $64,000. But then later on in the letter, you say, and we've decided to add an additional 818 devices to account, you say, for any new homes or businesses. But really, I don't know, it seems like an arbitrary number, and it seems like it just gets us to a nice round number of 16,000 units. And I think it would have been better just to say we get a price break at 16,000 units than to throw in a 718 just in case, because I don't think we have that many new businesses, and when we purchase these units and they're not installed, the clock just starts ticking. So
That's
if
correct.
it takes 4 or 5 years for us to exhaust that 718, we're installing a product that we've shortened the lifespan by 25% because it was just sitting on a shelf.
Okay.
Why not just be, a little more upright and say, we get a price break at 16,000. That lowers our $89 to 85 unit price, and it wouldn't hurt because then we have some cushion for new businesses. I have a problem with that, and I don't know, and I'm not going to get into it tonight because I guess, but my time on the Water and Sewer Rate Advisory Board, this number of 22,179 meters seems to be a moving target. I've never really gotten a straight answer on how many meters, and most of the time this number comes into play when we start talking about the equivalent meter charge. So I understand that we need these new radio head devices, but the whole presentation to me is problematic. So thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Open it up to the public. Seeing no further comments, motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Vosberg, to approve a request by the Department of Public Works to purchase 16,000 R900 Radio Read Devices from Ferguson Waterworks for a cost of $1,360,000 over a 24-month period, paying in monthly installments. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
No.
Trustee Joseph?
No.
Trustee Demink?
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata? Aye. Clerk Barry? Aye.
Motion passes. You can hang tight right there, Mr. Coddington. 7E, approve a request by the Department of Public Works for the purchase of meter and meter components from Ferguson Waterworks for a cost of $6,294.10.
This purchase is for...
Hang tight, hold on one second. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Second?
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, second by Clerk Barry. Now you can go, Mr. Coddington.
This purchase is for new meters, wires, meter ears, all stuff needed for new construction and new houses. It's been standard. We've been coming pretty much every month and getting more meter parts and meters for our new construction.
Comments from the board?
Mr. Coddington, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Trustee
Mr. Coddington, how long will this meter supply order, do you anticipate this lasting?
Probably about a month.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Clerk Barry.
I'm just curious, but why not order more if it's only going to last about a month? Is there a reason we're not ordering more, perhaps?
No, I felt that the board wanted us to be here more often to see what we're doing and how we're going on our budget.
I was just wondering, would there be an opportunity to, if we purchase these things in a larger quantity, receive perhaps a bulk discount?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it doesn't matter if
we can
order
ask
them-
that, but not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Clerk Barry, to approve a request by the Department of Public Works to purchase meters and meter components from Ferguson Waterworks for a total of $6,294.10. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti?
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Demink?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Mr. Coddington. 7F, approve a request by the Human Resources Director for the reorganization of the department, approve an employment agreement, and for the creation of a new position. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Joseph. And we do have Director Herbert here.
Yeah, you can see in the correspondence sent to the board that after my first 30 days here, I've identified numerous concerns as it relates to the human resources and labor relations functions for the township and the necessary staffing to complete those tasks and comply with what needs to be complied with. There's two major changes. First, creating the human resources department, which you don't have actually formally created as I understand it today. There's three changes in the department, two major changes that I want to just bring to your attention. First is, previously you had a position called benefits coordinator that I think when the position was created, it had a role primarily related to benefits administration. Over the last 12 months, the incumbent in that position has expanded those responsibilities beyond benefits coordination into other areas of human resources, employment, training, employee assistance, things of that nature. And the one area that we haven't been able to have that individual be fully involved in is the labor relations piece, primarily because that position was represented by a bargaining unit. This change to the title would create a human resources manager. You see the job description attached in the agenda packet and would allow this person to fully function in all the human resources and labor relations responsibilities of the department, and that's critical in achieving the mission we're trying to accomplish. The second major piece of the proposal is to add a human resources assistant. Again, with all the deficiencies we have to correct, we really need a support staff person in the office to assist with those projects over the next period of time. This really ought to be a full-time position, but I am sensitive to the budget concerns that the board has, so we'd like to create this position on a part-time basis, 29 hours a week. It wouldn't attach to it any benefit cost. It would just be the hourly wage we'd pay to that employee once we posted and filled the position. So everything else is laid out in the letter. If there's any questions any board member has regarding the proposal, I'll be happy to answer those questions and go from there.
Trustee Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Herpich, will this take care of the personnel you need to effectively run this department?
I believe so.
These two? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Treasurer LaFata.
In your letter to the board, you have 8 township does not haves. Can you kind of expound on how these 3 people are going to accomplish these 8 do not haves?
Sure.
In other words, who's responsible for each one of these do not haves?
Sure. It really is going to be, it's going to be a team approach to accomplishing the goals. Now, it's going to be difficult to accomplish a lot of those goals during the period of collective bargaining. That's where we're going to be spending, primarily our time in labor negotiations over the next 3 or 4 months. Once that's concluded, the 3 of us will function as an integrated team, and we will be able to accomplish those goals. We'll pick them off one by one, and we'll get them accomplished. And I think the 3 staff people will be able to do that satisfactorily in time.
Any further comments from the board? Trustee Domingue. Hey, hold on one second, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Herpich, sir, on these salaries, where did you come up with these numbers, like for the manager, like for the assistant with the non-union part-time at $26 an hour?
Sure. The salary for the human resources manager contained in the contract is the maximum pay of the current position of benefits coordinator. We've taken that position and run it right out to the maximum level of pay based on the added duties and responsibilities of the person in that role. The human resources assistant recommended hourly rate is the maximum hourly rate contained in the AFSCME clerical contract, and that would be the maximum we would pay to the individual we would hire into that position. It'd be something, it could be that or something less than that, but that would be the maximum we would pay for the employee coming into that role.
Okay, so my understanding on that $26 an hour, we're not going to hire. That's not set in stone. Is that my correct understanding?
That would be the maximum.
That'd be
the maximum, yes. It would not be in an hourly rate in excess of that hourly rate.
Or they could start lower?
They could start, it depends on the qualifications of the candidate that we would decide to hire, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller, now might be your time.
Do we need that position? We've got hundreds or dozens of real wonderful, outstanding employees. Is that position absolutely necessary? I brought my tax bill down today and paid it. And now if you're going to create a position, can I find out what the qualifications are and see if I could fill the position for $1 a year? I had $1 left over.
Thank you, Mr.
Now,
Miller.
I question all these positions that people, create in government. I wonder, is it necessary to have that position? And what is the proposed, since this doesn't indicate how much the position would pay? I wonder.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We'll do the best we can to answer when you're done.
What is the qualification? Does he have a set of the qualifications here where we the citizens can find out?
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Lou. I'll take the help for a buck. You'll do it for a buck. I'll even pay the $1.
Good evening, Lou Nigro. I got to get my address right. I just moved. 49149 Bayshore Street or Drive, depending on who you believe. I remember a time when human resources were attended to by the supervisor. I always had a problem with that because it seemed to vest too much power in one person in addition to everything else the supervisor did. So when you proposed a Human Resources Director, I supported that. Whatever happened to the days of legacy costs? I remember a time when we were so concerned about legacy costs that a lot of the responsibilities were contracted out to avoid those legacy costs. Was there any consideration given to contracting out the responsibilities of these 2 new positions? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public? Bring it back up to the board. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to comment on Mr. Nigro's inquiry, and I am still concerned about legacy costs. We'll have an agenda item that speaks to legacy costs a little later tonight, but in terms of contracting out, I don't know I don't know how we could do that here, because the proposed Human Resources Department is very dynamic. There's a lot of issues that come up. It's not just hiring new staff or when HR is involved. So you could have issues involving management union issues, you could have discipline issues, you could have benefits issues, and having an office that provides the employees with immediate answers to questions about co-pays, deductibles, is I think vital, and it's been lacking here for a long time. The other issue that I think is heavily mitigated by having a competent HR department centralized with exempt employees is the ability to deal with issues that have in the past cost us a lot of money. HR issues that are not handled properly have a way of finding themselves in court, and the litigation associated with some of the uglier ones over the past few years, without getting into specifics, have more than paid for the proposed positions that are being talked about tonight and proposed tonight. So I think the prevention aspect alone makes it a very wise investment. And when you look at contracts, and every time we get into this discussion, you see such a heavy, almost every department, you start looking at the cost to run a particular department, very sizable portion of that is in staff salaries and benefits. To not have somebody professional whose entire career has been dealing with human resource issues, it seems to be very short-sighted. So I think this is a great move forward, and I think a township this size, to answer Mr. Miller's question, yes, it is very vital and very necessary and long overdue.
Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you. I didn't count the does not have, so thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for doing that. But when I was reading this, I thought too, and just from being around here in the office now, there are many things that I would like to see, and I think the employees will benefit and would like to see as well. So I think, especially from what I see is in the comprehensive training, I think the employees would absolutely love to be able to learn some new functions of the software that they currently have on their desks, and just be able to know how to use it better and be able to, especially and then the other is our forecasting our needs and being able to have people in place to fill some of the positions or to change some of the positions as technology changes, as the township's need change. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vosberg. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I support this item as well in regard to the question, or the answer to the question, whether it's necessary. I can tell you, after being here for 5 years and working with our staff, it's absolutely necessary. It's something that we've been missing for a very long time. A lot of the items that this addresses not only will create a better work environment for our employees, but it'll also, at the end of the day, create better service delivery to our residents, and that's really what it's all about. That's why we're all here. So I agree 100% with Mr. Herbich's assessment, and in full support of this item.
Thank you. I appreciate both the comments from Mr. Miller and Mr. Nigro. In the packet, you'll see very detailed breakdown of what exactly these positions are, and laying out in Director Herpich's cover letter the deficiencies and the vulnerabilities that our community has and the reason why these positions are necessary. Now, it may look on the surface that these are new positions and adding to government, but they are specifically designed for specific skill sets that we need for our community. When the whole puzzle comes together, you'll see this isn't growing government. This is an efficient, effective, something that should have been done years and years ago. Specific skill sets for specific needs that our community has moving forward. I appreciate Director Herpich's work in the first 30-plus days and bringing this to us. Any further comments from the board? Motion by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Trustee Joseph to approve the request by the Human Resources Director for 1, the reorganization of the department, 2, to approve the employment agreement attached in your packet, and 3, for the creation of a new position, Human Resource Assistant. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Accavetti.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Nay.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry. Aye.
The motion passes. 7G, discussion regarding Chesterfield Township's compliance with PA 152 for 2018.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd make a motion to open discussion regarding Chesterfield Township's compliance with Public Act 152 for calendar year 2018.
Motion to open discussion by Trustee Joseph.
Second.
Support by Clerk Berry. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you. The issue of Public Act 152 comes up annually. This is an issue that specifically deals with the ability of the township to pay a dollar amount towards, or a percentage amount towards employee health care. There are only, depending on the length of the contract, really so many opportunities in each board's tenure to really impact the Public Act 152. Once a contract is ratified, the township is then obligated, obviously, to stick to the agreed upon benefits compensation. So although we vote on Public Act 152, if I understand it right from Mr. Siebert, we vote on it every year whether or not to follow the law, to follow Public Act 152, or vote to exempt ourselves. We're required by law to vote on that annually. The reality is, it really only is meaningful once every 3 years or once every contract term. So this is one of those years where the compliance with Public Act 152, basically the township's decision to follow the law, is very, very important as the current bargaining contracts are set to expire for all employees in 2017. So it is my belief, and in hearing and discussing things as we have in closed session for several past board meetings now, and seeing and hearing the presentations from the different insurance brokers, that the healthcare costs have really just been a runaway issue for the township for many years. We heard, I think appropriately, from Mr. Nigro, who makes almost as many board meetings as board members. Legacy cost has been a topic that has been discussed, on a very regular basis. The rough estimate now, and I don't have the exact number, but I believe under Public Act 152, state law says that municipalities are, if we were to adopt the hard cap portion of Public Act 152, somewhere around $18,000 annually for a family health care plan. The numbers that we've been provided really have the township exceeding that by 100%. We're closer to $35,000 a year for a family health care plan, and there's really no way to sustain that. I strongly suggest that we perhaps take a look at this year and become compliant with Public Act 152 if we are ever going to have the ability to rein in legacy costs. So I am strongly in favor of Public Act 152. It's really something that I regret deeply not having the ability to take care of at our last opportunity to really do something with it. And this time I think it's imperative that we follow the law and not exempt ourselves from Public Act 152.
Any further comments from the board? Public Act 152 is something afforded to our community and every local community by the state of Michigan that basically allows us to do three things, or requires us to do three things handed down by our state legislature and our governor. We could do nothing, no action by a local municipality, whether you're a city, township, village. In doing nothing, that means you're going to comply with the Public Act. Every year, about mid-September, the state of Michigan comes out with limits, and Trustee Joseph did allude to those. They have not been out yet from 2018, but they are projected to be right about where Trustee Joseph laid them out. So if we do absolutely nothing as a board and as a government, we can only spend the limits set out by the state of Michigan on health care for our team members. Another option that we have is to pass 80-20 cost sharing with our employees for the health insurance. And that requires a majority vote by this board. And the third option would be exempting ourselves from Public Act 152, which would require a supermajority of this board, which is 5 members. The challenge that our community and our team is confronted with is we've created a situation in the last decade or so where the product that we have for health insurance makes all of those options not very palatable. Exempting ourselves is not palatable for us as a community and for us long-term with the trajectory that we're on. The 80-20 or the hard cap could put an extreme undue hardship on our employees. Knowing that we have 7 bargaining contracts in front of us and there are many, many moving parts into those negotiations, this being maybe the biggest ticket item and the most difficult because it's health insurance. But there's also other longevity costs and organizational items that play into the overall fiscal picture of our community. So the discussion on this is very warranted and needs to continue on and on and on throughout the next several months. It's something that does need to be addressed before this fiscal year, and I'm committed to being cognizant of all 3 of those areas. The effect it's going to have on our team members because of the hole that we're kind of in, and the effect that it's going to have on the longevity and the financial stability of our community. But it's one piece, and it's a big piece, of a puzzle that has many pieces. Long-term pieces and short-term. Some are short-term organizational pieces. Subcontracting or contracting out services is a piece of it. Pensions, retiree health care, current employee health care. Making sure that we attract and retain the best talent out there that fits our community. This is all, it's a balancing act, and this is a very, very large piece of the puzzle. Any further comments from the board before we go into closed session or amend this to take action tonight.
I would, I'm sorry, I don't want to
Go ahead, Trustee
take
Joseph. I
two
didn't see anybody
slots in
else.
round one. I don't know if anybody has any additional comments down there, but what I would like to do is amend my motion, and I want to make sure that I understand the wording properly. There's a couple of different ways to put this forward, and I want to be clear for Clerk Berry, who is the support on this. I'd like to word it properly, and then I'd like to explain why I think it's important that we go. So is it, from Attorney Siebert, does it matter which way the proposal is made, so the motion would state that we would be in compliance with Public Act 152?
You don't have to do anything to be in compliance. If you do nothing, you must comply. If you do nothing as a board, you must impose the hard cap before the end of the year.
The ability to bring this forward is not, we could take a vote tonight. We could do three things. We could do nothing, correct?
Correct.
We could vote to be in compliance.
You don't need to vote to be in compliance. If you do nothing, you must be in compliance. The act compels you to adhere to the requirements of the statute, as Supervisor Accavetti said. If you do nothing, the hard caps must be complied with. If you have a majority of the board that votes to impose the 80-20, then that you are relieving some of the burden of the hard cap and you're imposing the 80-20. If you have a supermajority of the board, then you can exempt yourself. Those would be the two. So if you want to exempt yourself, you need a motion to do it and get 5 favorable votes. If you want to comply with the act, but pull back from the hard cap and impose the 80-20, you will need a majority vote of the board. And if you do nothing, then you must comply with the act unless it comes back to the board before the end of the year.
So I'd like to modify my question to you then, if I may. I understand that if we do nothing by pocket veto, if you will, it becomes, we are then compliant.
Correct.
Legally, we do nothing, I understand, but I think there is another benefit that I would ask the board to consider by making a motion to be in compliance, and that is, as our negotiating team sits down with the union officials, I think it's important to set the tone and understand where the board is at, because there is the possibility, if there is a motion to be in compliance with Public Act 152, you have 7 bargaining units who are all represented by very smart people. They become part of the solution as well. And it is as we all know, it is the plan, the insurance plans, that are the most critical. Those are what drive the cost. So if we were, through the negotiating process, in a position to have Mr. Herpich and our negotiating team sit down and realize that the starting point in negotiation is that we are Public Act 152 compliant, we now have a force, a team of people that are investigating options. We can always come back potentially for a reconsideration or a vote to exempt, provided we did that by the end of the year.
Correct.
Doing nothing sends in my opinion, a tone of ambivalence to the negotiating team, and they don't really understand where the board's interest is and what the board is inclined to do. At least by calling to vote, we would set the tone and know exactly where we are. So I would like to make a motion to amend my motion that the board, that the motion is that we are, Chesterfield Township will be in compliance with Public Act 152 for 2018.
Okay.
Amended motion by Trustee Joseph to
require Chesterfield Township to remain to become compliant with Public Act 152 for 2018.
Prior to moving forward, Mr. Supervisor, I would suggest that, or perhaps suggest to Trustee Joseph, that the board go into closed session to discuss some information prior to taking action on that, that I believe the bargaining team has been made aware of, that I do not believe our trustees have, our other trustees have been made aware of. And I also believe that in order to, for strategy and negotiation session purposes, that we should go into a closed session to discuss that prior to taking action on that item.
I don't know how we do that. We have a motion on the table, we have an amended motion.
You have an amended motion on the table that has not been seconded. Let's deal with that motion first, or it needs to be
Correct. Is there a
withdrawn.
second?
So you need somebody to support it?
We have a motion to go on record as a township that we are going to be in compliance with Public Act 152, which in essence is that we do nothing. So
And I'll support that.
We're compliant. Motion by trustee, Joseph, second by treasurer LaFata.
No problem. I'll make a motion to reconsider if we do it in closed
Discussion on the amended motion. Trustee Deming.
Okay, I got a question. You said family health care for a family of four roughly costs the township $35,000. Is that what someone said?
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. And under this hard cap 80-20 stuff, we would only pay $18,000. Is that my correct understanding?
In that neighborhood, yes.
So, let's say, I'm not a mathematician, so I took 18 from 35,000. It comes to 17,000 a year that an employee would have to be responsible for their health care.
That's with the same Cadillac plan that they have right now, and there's other plans.
We got to be careful we don't wander into strategy and negotiation.
Well, I'm just the numbers you throw out. I'm just asking something because I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I don't know what you guys all talked about. So,
with what we had
about 5 years of discussion.
With what we have laid out in front of us, this is a moving target. This is a work in progress that's going to take months and months and hours with the negotiation team to fit it all together. The status quo, it would be extremely painful for all of the team members of Chesterfield, but the status quo is not going to continue. There will be other options out there. Clerk Berry.
Mr. Supervisor, it seems that there's just a lot of questions or concerns that I believe that the board needs to, I really feel strongly that we should enter into closed session to answer some of these questions. I think they're all good, and I think we need to have a conversation specifically to discuss strategy and negotiation and connect to the negotiation of our collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act.
If it is helpful, there's, I realize we're not bound by Robert's rules, so if it is, there is information that is pertinent to the discussion, I have no problem with a strict adherence to my motion and support. I'm more than willing to hear more. Obviously, the trustees are not part of the negotiating team discussion, so if the clerk feels that strongly about information, however procedurally you'd like to proceed, I have no problem waiting until after closed session to take that vote.
In order to do so, I think there should be a motion to postpone this item until after closed session.
Again, procedurally, however you'd like me to do that. If you want me to withdraw the motion for reconsideration post-closed session, I'd be happy to do that.
Withdraw the motion first would be cleanest.
Withdrawn.
Thank you. Support.
Support as well. Okay, the motion is withdrawn. We have nothing on the floor in front of us. I'll make a motion to postpone the discussion regarding Chesterfield Township's compliance with PA 152 for 2018 until after we come out of closed session.
Second.
Motion to postpone item 7G till after closed session by Supervisor Accavetti, support by Clerk Berry. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Accavetti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry. Aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink. Aye. Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Motion is postponed. Item 8A, discussion regarding strategy and the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session for strategy and negotiation session connected to the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act.
Motion by Clerk Barry,
It's 7:55.
support by Trustee Anderson to enter into closed session for discussion regarding strategy and the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act at 7:54 p.m. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. We are in closed session.
You're good? Okay.
Guess we don't have a lot of fires in the township tonight, huh? We never go.
We're good to go.
Are they missing the bachelorette though?
Do I have a motion to re-enter open session?
Motion to re-enter open session.
Motion by Clerk Barry, support by Trustee Vosberg to re-enter open session. Please call the roll.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye. We are back in open session at 8:57 p.m. Item 7G, discussion regarding Chesterfield Township's compliance with PA 152 for 2018.
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion that we exempt ourselves from Public Act 152.
Motion by Trustee Demink to exempt Chesterfield Township from Public Act 152 for fiscal year 2018.
I'll second that.
Motion by Trustee Demink, support by Clerk Barry. Discussion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, no. Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Vosberg. No. Treasurer LaFata.
No.
Supervisor Akavetti.
No. Motion fails. Item 10, public comments.
No, the recording won't pick you up, Miss Hartman. The recording won't pick you up.
Press the bottom.
Batteries
Will not.
It's just, it's turned on.
Yeah. No.
Give it a... Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to hear her comments recorded for the record, if we could just wait for the batteries. Just the microphone will not pick her up.
We'll get a backup microphone.
You want to sit up here?
We're almost there with the batteries.
You got told? You got told? Be coming close. What was the, it's well over. Let's try to pick the Joe's ones. Are these new microphones? Are these new microphones that we're working with?
Dollar store Panasonic batteries.
Yeah. I need to try that though. There's these ones that have a big bunny. Should get those.
Got something now.
Testing. Thank you, Linda Hardman. I'm just have a question on your approval for item F on your information that was in your packet for your classification descriptions. You have 3 of them, and all of them say effective August 28th. And I wondered if that is going to be the effective date, or is tonight the effective date? That's all I have. Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I think we're good, Mr. Miller.
I came by today to pick up my agenda for tonight, and since I saw the dike security people on the door out there, and it said they've been in security since 1951, it's on the front door. I asked for a copy of their whole contract, and the girls had it. Now, this thing was signed by, looks like Jim Ellis in 2005. And what I looked at was that if they've been in business since 1951, and they have a contract to provide security here for this building, I remember that Mr. Joseph had something about one time on an agenda where all these old contractors should be rebidded, and it was taken off that agenda that night because there was another one listed. And it looks like that I wonder if these people are still up in Port Huron providing a good service for us. And I wonder if I wanted to run a test, if I could get the police to come down here, if you just slap the door where their name is on it, would it set off the alarm? So I want to make sure before you send a check to them that I want to make sure that you know that I paid my bill today and the check will be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any further public comment? Let's bring it up to the board. Trustee DeMake.
I'm good for tonight, thank you.
Trustee Vosberg.
I'll pass tonight, too.
Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. Just a reminder, is we should all know school is back in session. We have several elementaries in our township. Drive careful. Give the kids a chance and yourself. Thank you.
Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A couple of quick things. Mr. Miller, I know you'll probably hear this better at home when you get the recording. That contract has been just sort of continued, and it was my intent to look at that contract, not because I felt that the security company was not providing security services, just that I think there may be other companies out there that would like an opportunity to provide the service as well, perhaps at a savings. So I think that is something that our new operations director is probably investigating, along with a number of other contracts that have to do with the facilities and operations, of the township. So it is being investigated. The only other comment that I'd like to make is I'd like to say a thank you to a resident, Mr. Carlos DeAngelis. He lives over on Bertrand, and a long story short, there is an elderly neighbor of his who was very stressed about a development that is under construction literally in her backyard, and there was some damage to a very old tree that was leaning onto her property. She was concerned about some medical equipment and things and losing power. Mr. DeAngelis reported that to me. I got in contact with Mr. Palin and Gary DeMasters here at the township. Not only did they respond immediately, but this very elderly resident of ours who was battling with a very serious life challenge, a life-threatening health ailment, who was just completely overwhelmed and stressed about this problem, Mr. DeMasters and Mr. Palin assured her that they would take care of it. They did, and I got a report back that she was just overcome with gratitude, and I think it was a great example of some of the outstanding work that's done by our township employees. Very responsive and very helpful to this woman who is really battling something big, and it was very comforting to go out and do what they did. Helped her immensely, and I think they represent the bulk of our township employees. We do good things here, and we see it and hear it in our communities, not just with our first responders who are dealing with critical emergencies on a daily basis, but our general township employees, our DPW employees, really do some great things, and this was one of many examples of a very nice thing. So again, thank you to the Planning and Building Department and to Mr. DeAngelis, who is affectionately known as the godfather of Bertrand. He looks out for his neighbors and he makes sure that it's a great community, and I really do want to recognize him and our township employees. So thank you.
Clerk Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a couple of things. The Art and Music Festival at Brandenburg Park this couple of weeks ago was a great success. We had triple the attendance that we've had in previous years. I'm told by many people who attended, vendors as well as patrons, that it was our best one yet. Thank you very much to our township staff who helped make that happen. Josh Sonnenberg, our facilities director, and his crew with DPW, our fire department and police department folks who were members who were there, tremendously popular, did a great job with the public, and I think provided some very important information to them as well as Parks and Recreation, and members of the Clerks department were there as well, promoting the community enrichment programs that the Board of Trustees is bringing to you. That leads me to the next thing, which is our community enrichment programs. Please check our website for those programs. There's a lot of great opportunities for you. They are free to the public. There is no cost to attend them. There's a nominal fee for first aid and I think a couple of other ones, but majority of them are completely free for the public. You do not have to be a resident to attend, so if you have family members who are not Chesterfield residents, we'd like to invite them to attend with you. We do ask, though, that you RSVP through the website or register through there for those programs so that we know how many we expect to attend. One of very popular one that is coming up that we have held once before is our women's self-defense. I know there are quite a few people who were not able to take advantage of that last time. I'd like to let you know that the next women's self-defense will be held Thursday, September 21st. 6:30 to 8 p.m. here at the township offices. We do require that you pre-register for that one because it is limited to 30 participants. So please make sure to see the website on that. Just a couple of sneak peeks in terms of other types of programming that are available. Winterizing your home and garden. You will learn how to prepare your water pipes, your furnace, lawn and garden areas for the winter. Members of our DPW will be presenting part of that. Halloween safety, how to protect your children, your family, your home, and your property from potential harm during Halloween. Our police department will be assisting with that presentation. Firearm safety is coming up. Chesterfield Color Tour, so you can see what makes Chesterfield a Tree City, USA. Healthy Chesterfield Day, holiday season and fire safety awareness, elder care seminar, travel safety. Those are the types of programs. And there's many, many others, and I encourage you to take a look at our website and get a full description of the great program offerings that we're bringing to you, and we're very excited to do that. Thank you.
Treasurer LaFata.
I'd just like to reiterate Mr. Miller's question about the contracts. The 2018 budget process has started, and part of that is to look at all and review all annual contracts to see if there's opportunity. That's all.
A couple questions were asked during public comment. Mrs. Hartman, the effective date of the Human Resources reorganization will be tomorrow after this meeting. The 28th was the date of the agenda submission. And Mr. Miller, every professional service contract I intend to have looked at. Just realize there's a lot of barriers to efficiency, and there's some things that are more urgent than others. We're making our way through the list, but before long, these contracts that have been 10, 20 plus years with the same vendor, They will all be looked at in due time. We have a ton of work to do. On our 7 collective bargaining agreements, on the restructuring and reorganizing our community. And you can have both. You can have a financially sound, long-term, stable community. And you can also have employees and team members who are well compensated, proud to be here, and you can have both. It's not a zero-sum game. We can do this. It's just going to take a ton of work. Now, we proved tonight with our Public Act 152 discussion and action that we have a lot of work to do. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:15 p.m.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Acovetti, support by Trustee Joseph. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.